My name is Jack, and for 7 years, I sent every penny of my paycheck home while I worked oil rigs in the North Sea. What I found when I finally returned wasn't just betrayal, it was a complete rewriting of my life by someone who thought I'd never come back to claim it. I'm 38 years old, a petroleum engineer who specialized in deep-water drilling operations. The money was incredible, $180,000 a year, sometimes more with overtime and hazard pay. But the cost was steep, 6 months on the rig, 6 weeks home, then back out again. Catherine knew the deal when we got married in 2016. She said she could handle it, said the money would set us up for life. For 7 years, I never questioned the arrangement. Every 2 weeks, my entire paycheck went directly into our joint account. I kept $500 for personal expenses on the rig, toiletries, phone cards, the occasional book. Everything else went home to Catherine. $12,600 every month, like clockwork. I trusted her completely. Why wouldn't I? She was my wife. The first sign something was wrong came during a video call in March 2023. I was in my quarters after a 14-hour shift, exhausted but wanting to see her face. When she answered, I could hear voices in the background, male voices. "Who's there?" I asked. "Just some friends watching a movie," she said quickly. "You look tired, baby. Maybe we should talk tomorrow." The call ended before I could respond. I stared at the blank screen for a long time, trying to shake the feeling that something wasn't right. But I was 300 miles offshore, and there wasn't much I could do except trust her. Trust. That word would haunt me for months. I met Catherine at a college reunion in 2015. I was between contracts, taking a rare year off to figure out my next move. She was finishing her master's degree in marketing, ambitious and beautiful. We clicked immediately. She understood my work, or at least said she did. When I explained the rotation schedule, months away, weeks home, she didn't flinch. "I'm independent," she told me. "I can handle being alone. Besides, the money will let us build something amazing together." We married a year later. Small ceremony, just our families. I was already back on rotation by then, but I flew home for the wedding and honeymoon. 2 weeks of pure happiness before heading back to the rig. Our house was Catherine's project. I sent the money, she made the decisions. 3-bedroom colonial in a good neighborhood outside Houston. $450,000, which seemed reasonable given my income. Catherine handled the mortgage, the utilities, everything. I was busy keeping drilling operations running smoothly 300 miles from shore. "Don't worry about the details," she'd tell me during our calls. "I've got everything under control." And I believed her. Why wouldn't I? She was smart, capable, and I was sending home more money than most families see in a lifetime. The second sign came 6 months later, during my August rotation home. I was jet-lagged and exhausted, but I noticed things. New furniture I didn't remember buying. A landscaping project that must have cost $15,000. When I asked about it, Catherine got defensive. "We can afford it, Jack. You make good money. I thought you'd be happy that I'm improving our home." I was too tired to argue, and honestly, she was right, we could afford it. But something nagged at me. In 7 years of marriage, I'd never seen detailed financial statements. I trusted Catherine to handle our money, but I'd never actually verified that she was handling it well. That night, I tried to log into our bank account online. The password had been changed. "Oh, I updated all our passwords for security," Catherine explained the next morning. "I'll write down the new ones for you." She never did. My next rotation home was in January 2024. I'd been planning it for months, a full month off, the longest break I'd taken in years. Catherine seemed nervous about it, kept suggesting I take shorter trips to see my family, maybe visit my brother in Colorado. "You've been working so hard," she said. "Maybe you need a real vacation, somewhere relaxing. We could afford a nice resort in the Caribbean." But I wanted to be home. I wanted to sleep in my own bed, cook in my own kitchen, spend time with the wife I'd been supporting for 7 years. I wanted to feel like I actually lived somewhere instead of just visiting. That's when everything unraveled. I flew into Houston on a Tuesday morning, January 16th. My flight was delayed, so instead of arriving at 2 p.m. as planned, I didn't land until almost 6. Catherine wasn't answering my calls, which wasn't unusual. She often worked late at the marketing firm where she'd gotten a job 3 years earlier. I took a cab home, looking forward to surprising her. The surprise was on me. There was a car in our driveway I didn't recognize. A BMW sedan, maybe 2 years old. Nice car. Expensive. I paid the cab driver and stood in my own driveway, staring at this car parked where I usually parked, trying to make sense of it. Maybe Catherine had bought a new car. We could certainly afford it. Maybe she was having friends over for dinner. Reasonable explanations flooded my mind because the alternative, the explanation my gut was whispering, was too devastating to consider. I walked to the front door and tried my key. It didn't work. The locks had been changed. I stood there for 5 minutes, trying my key over and over, as if persistence would somehow make it fit. Then I walked around to the back of the house, to the sliding door we never locked. It was locked too, but I knew where Catherine hid the spare key. It wasn't there. That's when I heard the laughter. Through the kitchen window, I could see into our dining room. Catherine was there, setting the table. Our dining room table, the one I'd paid for. She was wearing a dress I'd never seen, something elegant and expensive looking. And there was a man with her. Not just any man. A man who was clearly comfortable in my house, helping set my table, drinking from my glasses. He was tall, well-dressed, maybe 40 years old. He moved around my kitchen like he belonged there. I watched them for 10 minutes, hidden behind the fence I'd paid to install. They were preparing dinner together, laughing, acting like a couple. Acting like they lived there. Acting like I didn't exist. The rational part of my brain tried to find innocent explanations. Maybe he was a friend. Maybe they were having a business dinner. Maybe Catherine was entertaining a client from her marketing firm. But everything about their body language screamed intimacy. The casual touches, the shared looks, the way he handed her wine and she smiled up at him like he was the center of her universe. I pulled out my phone and called Catherine. Through the window, I watched her check the caller ID and send my call to voicemail. She said something to the man, and they both laughed. That's when I knew. 7 years of marriage. 7 years of sending every penny home. 7 years of trusting completely, and this was what I came home to. I could have confronted them right there. Could have banged on the windows, demanded explanations, created a scene. 6 months ago, I might have done exactly that. But something in me had changed during those months offshore. Maybe it was the isolation, maybe it was the responsibility of managing million-dollar drilling operations, but I'd learned the value of thinking before acting. Instead, I walked back to the street and called an Uber. "Where to?" the driver asked. I looked back at my house, that I'd paid for with 7 years of labor, and made a decision. Take me to the nearest hotel. I needed time to think. I needed to understand exactly what I was dealing with before I decided how to handle it. At the hotel, I sat on the bed with my laptop and started digging. First, I tried to access our bank accounts online. Still locked out. Then I pulled up our credit card statements. Thankfully, those were still accessible through my email. What I found made my blood run cold. Restaurants I'd never been to. Charges for 2 people, expensive places, going back months. Hotel charges in cities I'd never visited. Shopping sprees that would have made a millionaire wince. And then there were the recurring charges I didn't recognize, gym memberships, subscription services, charges to companies I'd never heard of. Catherine had been living like a wealthy single woman, spending my money on a life that didn't include me. I dug deeper. Property tax records showed that our house had been refinanced 6 months earlier. The new mortgage was for $200,000 more than we'd originally borrowed. Where had that money gone? I called the bank the next morning. After jumping through security hoops and proving my identity, I finally got access to our account information. The checking account balance was $847. 7 years of sending home $12,600 a month, and we had $847 in checking. "Sir, I'm showing significant transfers from this account to a savings account in Catherine Morrison's name only," the bank representative told me. Catherine Morrison, she'd never changed her last name when we married. "How much?" I asked, though I was afraid of the answer. "I can't give you specific details over the phone for the individual account, but the transfers total approximately $340,000 over the past 18 months, $340,000. Nearly 2 years of my salary, moved to an account I couldn't access." "What about our savings account?" "The joint one?" "Sir, that account was closed 8 months ago. The balance was transferred to the individual account I mentioned." I hung up and sat in my hotel room, trying to process what I'd learned. Catherine hadn't just been unfaithful, she'd been systematically stealing from me. Moving our money to accounts I couldn't access, refinancing our house without my knowledge, living a double life while I worked 14-hour days on an oil rig. But here's what she didn't know about me, what 7 years of marriage apparently hadn't taught her: I don't give up, and I don't get mad, I get methodical. That afternoon, I drove to a different bank and opened a new account in my name only. Then I called my company's HR department and changed my direct deposit. From now on, my paychecks would go into an account Catherine couldn't access. Next, I called a lawyer. Robert Chen, a divorce attorney who specialized in complex financial cases. I'd found him through a quick Google search, but his reviews were solid, and he agreed to see me that afternoon. "This is going to be complicated," he told me after I explained the situation. Texas is a community property state, which means assets acquired during marriage are generally split 50-50. But if we can prove she was hiding assets or committing fraud. What do I need to prove that? Bank records, documentation of the refinance. I'm not walking away from anything. That evening, I drove back to my house. The BMW was gone, but Catherine's car was in the driveway. Lights were on in the kitchen. Through the window, I could see her cleaning up dinner dishes, dinner for 2, judging by the plates. I walked to the front door and knocked. Catherine opened it, and for a moment, her face went completely white. Then she recovered, throwing her arms around me like nothing had happened. "Jack! You're early. Why didn't you call? I would have picked you up from the airport." I didn't hug her back. "You know how it is." I nodded like I believed her. "How are our finances? Everything going okay while I've been away?" "Everything's fine, Jack. Don't worry about money, you make plenty." I'd like to see our bank statements. Another pause. Why? I told you everything's fine. Because it's my money too, Catherine. I've been sending home my entire paycheck for 7 years, and I've never actually seen where it's going. Her expression shifted then, becoming defensive. Are you accusing me of something? Because I've been managing our money just fine. Do you see how beautiful this house is? Do you see the life we've built? I see the life you've built, I said quietly. I'm not sure where I fit into it. That night, Catherine was different. Distant. She went to bed early, claiming a headache. I stayed up in the living room, thinking about everything I'd discovered, everything I still needed to find out. At 3 a.m., I heard her phone buzzing. She'd left it on the kitchen counter, not like her, she usually kept it close. I picked it up and saw dozens of text messages from someone named David. David, where is he? David, Catherine, answer me. David, did you tell him anything? David, we need to talk tomorrow. I put the phone back exactly where I'd found it and went to bed. Catherine was pretending to sleep, but her breathing was too controlled, too careful. The next morning, she was gone when I woke up. No note, no explanation. Just gone. I spent the day documenting everything. I took photos of the house, inside and out. I made lists of all the new furniture, all the improvements I didn't remember authorizing. I called the mortgage company and requested copies of all loan documents. When Catherine came home that evening, she had a suitcase with her. I think we need some space, she announced without preamble. This situation is too intense. I'm going to stay with Sarah for a few days while we figure things out. What situation? I asked. The situation where my wife has been living with another man in the house I pay for. She dropped the suitcase. What are you talking about? I saw him, Catherine. Last night, through the kitchen window. I saw you having dinner together. I saw how comfortable he was in my house. For a moment, she looked like she might deny it. Then something shifted in her expression, resignation, maybe, or relief at finally being caught. It's not what you think, she said. Then explain it to me. David he's a friend. A good friend. You've been gone for 7 years, Jack. 7 years of being alone, of managing everything by myself. I got lonely. So you moved him into my house and spent my money on him. It's not like that. Then what is it like, Catherine? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been living a completely different life while I've been working to support you. She sat down on the couch I'd paid for, and put her head in her hands. You don't understand what it's been like. You come home for a few weeks, then disappear for months. I needed someone here, someone present. Someone you could spend my money on. That's not fair. Isn't it? I've sent you over $1 million in the past 7 years, Catherine. Where is it? She looked up at me then, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before, calculation. It's invested, she said. Saved. Preparing for our future. In an account I can't access. Another pause. How do you know about that? Because I'm not as stupid as you apparently think I am. The conversation went downhill from there. Catherine became defensive, then angry, then accusatory. I was controlling, she said. I was paranoid. I was trying to trap her in a loveless marriage where she had no freedom. 7 years, I said finally. 7 years I've been sending you every penny I make, and this is what you do with it. I never asked you to work on those rigs, Jack. That was your choice. My choice to support my wife, yes. My choice to build a life together. What life? You're never here. I'm here to pay for everything. She packed more things that night and left. I didn't try to stop her. Over the next week, I pieced together the full scope of what Catherine had been doing. With Robert's help, I subpoenaed bank records and financial documents. The picture that emerged was staggering. Catherine had been moving money to individual accounts for over 2 years. She'd refinanced our house twice, taking out additional equity each time. She'd opened credit cards in both our names and maxed them out. She'd even taken out a personal loan using our house as collateral. Total debt, $650,000. Total assets in accounts I could access, less than $1,000. She's been treating your marriage like a business, Robert explained. Taking out as much capital as possible while minimizing her personal risk. What about the boyfriend? David Morrison. Turns out he's her cousin. I stared at Robert. Her cousin. Second cousin, but family. He's been helping her move assets around, hiding money in accounts under his name. This isn't just infidelity, Jack. This is financial fraud on a massive scale. That afternoon, I got a call from Catherine. She wanted to meet, to work things out like adults. We met at a coffee shop downtown. She looked different, nervous, less confident than I'd ever seen her. Jack, I know you're angry, but we can fix this, she started. We can go to counseling, work through our problems. What about David? That's over. It was a mistake, a moment of weakness. I love you, Jack. I want to save our marriage. I studied her face, looking for any sign of sincerity. What about the money, Catherine? The hundreds of thousands of dollars you've hidden from me? I was trying to surprise you. I was investing it, building something for our future. In your cousin's name? She went very still. How do you know about David's accounts? The same way I know about the refinancing I never approved, the credit cards I never applied for, and the personal loan that could cost us our house. Catherine leaned back in her chair, and I saw the exact moment she realized I knew everything. What do you want? She asked quietly. I want what's mine. Half of everything is yours. Community property. Catherine, you've stolen from me for years. You've committed fraud using my name and credit. You've been living with another man in the house I pay for. We're not talking about community property anymore. We're talking about criminal charges. Her face went pale. You wouldn't. Try me. The divorce took 8 months. 8 months of depositions, financial discovery, and increasingly desperate attempts by Catherine to negotiate. She offered to give me the house, then 60% of assets, then 75%. But I wasn't interested in negotiation anymore. The breakthrough came when Robert's forensic accountant found the investment accounts. Catherine had been telling the truth about one thing: she had been investing some of the money in high-risk ventures, cryptocurrency, and startups that had uniformly failed. Of the $1.2 million I'd sent home over 7 years, Catherine had lost or spent nearly $900,000. This is actually good news, Robert told me. It shows a pattern of financial irresponsibility that supports our claim for full asset recovery. The judge agreed. In the final settlement, I was awarded the house, all remaining assets, and a judgment for the money Catherine had illegally moved to individual accounts. Catherine was ordered to liquidate her remaining investments and turn over the proceeds. Total recovery, $340,000. Not even a third of what I'd sent home, but something. Catherine also faced criminal charges for bank fraud and identity theft. She pleaded guilty to lesser charges and received 3 years probation and an order to pay restitution. David faced his own charges for helping to hide assets. He pleaded guilty and received 2 years probation. On the day the divorce was finalized, I drove to the house that was now legally mine alone. I walked through every room, remembering when Catherine and I had first seen it, how excited we'd been about building a life together. Then I called a real estate agent. I sold the house 3 months later for $520,000. After paying off the mortgages and liens Catherine had accumulated, I cleared $180,000. Combined with the money recovered from Catherine's accounts, I had enough to start over. I bought a smaller place outside Austin, a ranch house on 5 acres with no neighbors in sight. Used the rest of the money to start my own consulting firm, helping oil companies optimize their drilling operations. I still work rotations sometimes, but now I'm working for myself. The money goes into accounts only I control. I make my own decisions about how to spend it. Last month, I got a letter from Catherine. She was living in an apartment in Dallas, working at a marketing firm for $35,000 a year. She was sorry, she wrote. She'd made mistakes. She hoped someday I could forgive her. I read the letter twice, then filed it away. Forgiveness might come eventually, but trust? That was gone forever. These days, I wake up in my own house, on my own land, knowing exactly where my money is and how it's being spent. I've got a dog now, a German Shepherd named Ranger who's better company than most humans. Sometimes I think about those 7 years, about how completely I trusted someone who was systematically betraying me. It could make a man bitter, cynical about love and marriage. But mostly I think about how it ended. How standing up for myself, refusing to accept being stolen from and lied to, led to justice being served. Catherine lost everything, the house, the money, the comfortable life I'd provided. She learned that actions have consequences, that you can't build happiness on someone else's labor and trust. I learned something too, that trusting people is important, but verifying that trust is essential. That 7 years of marriage means nothing if it's built on lies. That sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away from someone who doesn't value what you're offering. I'm 39 now, single, financially secure, and accountable to no one but myself. It's not the life I planned, but it's honest. It's mine. And no one can take it away from me.